Magic and Mystery in Tibet by Alexandra David-Neel. Chapter 3, continued. Living Buddha. Besides the various officials, there exists in the Gampas another class of men who, as a rule, do not take any direct part in the business of the monastery and live more or less aloof in their sumptuous mansions. These are the lamas, tulkas. Tulkas occupy a prominent place in Lamaism. They constitute one of its most striking features, which set it quite apart from all other Buddhist sects. The real character of the Lamas tulkas has never been correctly defined by Western authors, and it would almost seem that they have never even suspected it. However, the theories regarding tulkas are well worth our attention, for they are far removed from any belief in incarnations or transmigrating spiritual entities, and, as we shall see, border upon the field of psychic phenomena. The peculiar religious aristocracy, which goes by the name of tulkas, is not of very ancient origin. It is only after A.D. 1650 that it developed in the form which it exists at present. The fifth Grand Lama of the Gelugpa sect, in brackets, yellow caps, Lobzang Gyatso by name, had then been newly enthroned as temporal ruler of Tibet by a Mongolian prince and recognized as such by the Chinese emperor. Yet these earthly honors failed to satisfy the ambitious Lama, and he added to them by declaring himself to be an emanation of the Bodhisattva Chenrezig. Let me spell that for you. Chenrezigs. At the same time, he established his religious teacher as the Grand Lama of Tashihumpo, affirming that he was a tulka of Odpagmet, a mystic Buddha of whom Chenrezig is the spiritual son. And then there's a footnote, and it says, Chenrezig and Odpagmet are respectively the Tibetan names of the mystic beings called in Sanskrit Avalokiteshvara and Amitabha. Sorry, it's hard to say. I'm going to spell it for you. Avalokiteshvara and Amithabha. The example set by the Lama King encouraged the creation of tulkas. Very soon all monasteries of some importance deemed it a point of honor to have at their head an incarnation of one or another worthy. However, in setting himself up as the tulka of Chenrezig, Lobzang Gyatso had not been entirely an innovator. Theories affording him some support can be traced in the Mahayanist speculations regarding the mystic Buddhas and their spiritual family of bodhisattvas and human Buddhas who are said to emanate from them. Moreover, since the death, in brackets, about A.D. 1470, so 1470, of Gedundab, Gedundub, the disciple of the reformer Tsongkhapa, his ancestors, as head of the Yellow Caps sect, had been recognized as his reincarnations. So the fifth Dalai Lama was therefore already a tulka of Gedungam when he became Chenrezig's tulka. I'm sorry, I have to apologize here for my stumblings, but some of these words are very hard to pronounce. But even earlier in the 11th century, Tibetans believed in tulkas. We read in the biography of Milarespa that one of his disciples, called Biraja, Bhiraja, convinced that a divine being was incarnated in his master, asked him to disclose his name. Milarespa himself believed that his own master, the Lama Marpa, M-A-R-P-A, was the tulka of the Dorje Shang, D-O-R-J-E-E-C-H-A-N-G. He called him by that name repeatedly, not only in his poems, but when addressing him directly. So, though recognized avatars were, at first, isolated cases and not in the regular lineal succession of incarnations, they have paved the way for the Dalai Lama, Chenrezigs, and the thousands of lordly tulkas who are nowadays to be found all over the Lama's countries. Living Buddha, in quotes, Living Buddha, is a current appellation given by foreigners to Lama's tulkas. Now, in spite of the many books on Buddhism which have been published in Western languages, there still remain a large number of Westerners who take the word Buddha for a proper noun, the name of the founder of Buddhism. To these people, the words Living Buddha convey the idea of a reincarnation of Gautama, the historical Buddha. There is no Tibetan, even amongst the most ignorant villagers or herdsmen, who entertain such a false view. As for learned lamas, they agree with all the other Buddhists in declaring that the Buddha Gautama, in brackets, Sakya Thubpa, as he is called in Tibet, Sakyathubpa, cannot be incarnated again. The reason of it is that Gautama has entered nirvana, a state which precludes all possibilities of reincarnation, for that which is called nirvana is precisely a setting free from the round of births and death. So much for avatars in the historical Buddha. So much for avatars of the historical Buddha. They have never been, no, let me start that over again. There have never been any in the past, and none exist at the present. Can there be incarnations of other Buddhas? In fact, no, and for the same reason. The Buddhas have entered nirvana. It is indeed because they have realized that condition that they are Buddhas. However, while in southern Buddhist countries, the title of Buddha is exclusively given to the historical human Buddha, to his supposed predecessors, and to his expected successor, Maitreya, northern Buddhists have imagined a number of symbolic and mystic entities, certain of which are styled Buddha. It is these who are said to manifest themselves through avatars, and their avatars may assume other forms than that of human beings. It follows that according to popular belief, a tulkus is either the reincarnation of a saintly or peculiarly learned departed personality, or the incarnation of a non-human entity. The number of the former greatly exceeds that of the latter. Tulkas of non-human entities are limited to a few avatars of mystic Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or deities such as the Dalai Lama, the Grand Lama of the Tashihumpa, the Lady Dorji Phagmo, Phagmo, and lower in rank the tulkas of some autochthonous gods like Pekar, P-E-K-A-R. Tulkas of gods, demons, and fairies, in brackets, Kadomos, Khadhomas, appear especially as heroes of stories, yet some living men and women enjoy as such some local renown. This category of tulkas is not reckoned among the Lamaist aristocracy. One may think that it originated not in Lamaism, but in the old religion of Tibet, though Buddhism denies the existence of a transmigrating soul and considers the belief in a permanent ego as a most pernicious error. The large majority of unlearned Buddhists have lapsed into the old Indian doctrine, which represents the jiva, J-I-V-A, in brackets, self, periodically changing his worn-out body for a new one, as we cast away a worn-out garment to clothe ourselves in a new. Based on that belief, lines of successive reincarnations of human worthies have been recognized. These are styled rosary of births, or rosary of bodies, because they are linked together like beads of a rosary. When the tulku is considered as the incarnation of a god, or the emanation of a spiritual entity who coexists with him, the reason afforded by the self changing his flesh garment does not explain his nature. But average Tibetans do not think deeply, and for all practical purposes, tulkas of celestial personages are considered as true reincarnations of their predecessors. The ancestor of a line is purely human tulkas is called The ancestor of a line of purely human tulkas is called Kongma, Kongma. He is generally, but not necessarily, a lama. Kongma. Amongst the exceptions, I may mention the father and the mother of the reformer Tsongkhapa. Both reincarnate in male children who become monks and, as lamas, have their seat at Kumbum Monastery. The lama who is held to be the reincarnation of Tsongkhapa's father is called Aghia, A-G-H-I-A, Aghia Tsang, T-S-A-N-G, and is the lord of the monastery. When I lived at Kumbum, he was a boy in his 10th year. There exist also nuns who are tulkus of departed saintly ladies or goddesses. By and by, I may say that it is a cause of amusement for the observer to remark how intelligence and holiness often seem to become exhausted in a succession of incarnations. It is not unusual to find an utterly stupid fellow as the supposed embodiment of some eminent thinker, or to see an earthly-minded epicure recognized as the incarnation of a mystic anchorite famous for his austerity. The reincarnation of the tulkus cannot astonish people who believe in a transmigrating ego. According to that view, we are all tulkus for the self, now embodied in our present form, cannot but have existed previously in other forms. The only peculiarity with tulkus is that they are reincarnations of remarkable personalities, and that they sometimes remember their previous lives and are able, at the time of death, to choose and make known the place of their next birth and their future parents. However, some lamas see a complete difference between the process of reincarnation in the case of common men and that of the enlightened ones. Men, they say, who have practiced no mental training, who live like animals, yielding thoughtlessly to their impulses, are like travelers who wander over the world without any fixed purpose. Such a man sees a lake in the east and, being thirsty, hurries away to the water. When nearing the shore, he perceives the smell of smoke. This suggests the presence of a house or a camp. It would be pleasant, he thinks, to get hot tea instead of water and shelter for the night. So the man leaves the lake without having actually reached the shore and proceeds to the north, the smoke coming from that direction. On the way, before he has yet discovered any houses or tent, threatening phantoms spring up before him. Terrified, the wanderer turns away from the fearful beings and runs for his life toward the south. When he deems that he has gone far enough to be safe, he stops to rest. Now other wanderers pass who tell him of some blissful land of joy and plenty that they intend to reach. Full of enthusiasm, the vagrant joins the party and goes off to the west. And on the road, he will be tempted many times to change his direction again before seeing the enchanted country. So, continually roaming at random all his life, that simpleton will reach no goal whatever. Death will overtake him on the road, and the conflicting forces of his disordinated activity will be scattered to the four winds. The coordinated amount of energy necessary to determine the continuation of a same current of force not having been produced, no tulkas can arise. On the contrary, the enlightened one is likened to a traveler well aware of the goal, which he means to reach, well informed also of its geographical position and the roads that lead to it, the mind unflinchingly fixed on its aim, indifferent to the various mirages and allurements on the roadside. This man controls the forces begotten by his concentration of mind and his bodily activity. Death may dissolve his body on the path, but the psychic energy of which that body is both creator and instrument will remain coherent, pushing forward toward the same goal. It will provide itself with a new material instrument, that is to say, a new form, which is a tulku. Here we meet with different views. Some lamas think the subsisting subtile energy attracts elements of congenial essence and thus become the nucleus of a new being. Others say that the disembodied force joins an already existing being whose material and mental dispositions acquired in previous lives provide a harmonious union. Needless to say that several criticisms and objections may be brought forward against these theories, but the present book is meant only to relate Lamaist opinions and not to discuss them. I can only say that all the views I have mentioned are consistent with a number of old Tibetan stories whose heroes determine by an act of will the nature of their birth and the course of action of their future avatar. This shows that similar theories have been widely spread among Tibetans for a long time. And I am going to pause here. And there's one more part to this chapter, which I will continue with next time. So, till soon.